when it comes to the TV show Gen V, I'm going to be completely honest and say it was a very decent watch. Firstly, I really enjoyed how they tried to make us, the audience, sympathise with Soups, somewhat going against what the original show was doing, that being making us go against Soups and doing quite a successful job in my eyes. And so for them to take this path was very intriguing. It's also interesting seeing how they were twisting the narrative of Soups are bad to now humans created us, they're the bad guys. I really enjoyed the mysterious plot of the show, that being about the woods and seeing how certain Soups were taken away and become test subjects. Again, how that adds to the narrative of humans are bad because of what they were doing. I really enjoyed the character development in this show, specifically when it came to the protagonist, who is kind of hating the fact that she has powers because of what she did, and seeing her trying to be the hero that she knows she is and not the monster that her sister claimed she was. A small thing I enjoyed was how throughout this show they're able to use these powers as a way to talk about modern societal issues, that being issues with trans people and people with eating disorders. The latter, when people find out that's how she gets her powers, they somewhat pity and fake sympathise with her, which is quite a shame, and it's an interesting way they tackle these topics. Now, because it's a spin-off of The Boys, it is uber violent, which I will have to say is very entertaining. Even when they switch to puppet form, they still are able to make that visually grotesque. I have to admit, it's quite a spectacle to behold. One of the smaller things that I enjoyed is how a character who has been built up as the antagonist of the show is actually on the somewhat same side as Billy Butcher, and because of that you find it really difficult to go against this character, but because they're also attacking and tormenting main characters, you're also against it, and so you don't really know which side you belong on, and I just found that to be really quite cool, great writing. When it comes to the finale of the show, I have to be honest and say it was a really great watch. Seeing Soups fighting one another, really killing a lot of staff members, and we see the students having to fight their own kind and try and be the heroes they are training to be, that they've been told they are. And I really enjoyed that element, and then it has a very funny, interesting twist at the very end. Definitely worth watching. But whilst I do praise the finale, I feel like it's the 2 episodes beforehand that were really hooking, as we see they dive deeper into these characters and we learn all matter of sorts about them, and I found that to be the better part of the show than the finale, personally. This show is far from perfect. Personally speaking, I felt like this show went over the top or above and beyond to have shock value, whether it be the violence or sexual images. Now, bear in mind, I do love The Boys for all that, but at the same time it felt unnecessary after episode 4. I felt like it wasn't as special as it was in The Boys, and this is something I mentioned in my The Boys Series 3 review. I felt like it's just too over the top to the point that we're desensitised to it. I think that's the issue. If they begin to limit it, when we do see this uber violence, then we got a bit more shocked, but it's just in each and every episode. It takes it away for me personally. When it comes to my second critique, I would say they're adding unnecessary or unneeded humour into certain scenes, somewhat similar to how Marvel does in their films. I'm definitely not saying they're doing it to the same degree, but it's slowly coming across. Personally speaking, that's no attack on this show though. And my last critique is about the college background itself. I was very much disappointed with not seeing anything very out of the ordinary college experience for these kids, as they only really see them go to 2 classes, one being acting and one being, I believe, history. And it's just sad that we don't see them going to train their powers or doing some extraordinary classes. It just feels like a normal college experience, which is quite disappointing. In the first episode, we see characters somewhat battling it out. I would love to see more of that, but obviously in a controlled environment. Overall, it is a very entertaining show if you are a fan of The Boys. An intriguing, mysterious plot. We got great character development during the latter half of the series. Violence out the wazoo as usual. I would say I feel it's a weaker version of the original show, but still worth watching. Is this good? I'd say it's good, very intriguing. Rating wise, I would give it a 7 out of 10. When it comes to would I rewatch it, I would say maybe. I would definitely rewatch it if I'm rewatching everything related to The Boys, but in and of itself, I would say maybe a year or two, depending on if this gets picked up or not. Recommendations, I'd obviously start with the original, as it's definitely more hooking, but then I feel it's a bit unfair to compare it to the Gen V, as this has 3 seasons worth of material. Next, I would recommend The Boys Presents Diabolical, which is technically the first spin-off they did, an animated series. Not only is it entertaining and funny, but also I believe they show the same orphanage in the second episode that the protagonist of this show was in during the first episode. Next, I would recommend the TV show Misfits, as it's also about young people who have been given these powers properly, not injected, and we see them just doing their best to be heroes and protect the city they're in. Another recommendation, I would say the TV show Power Book 2 Ghosts, mainly because of the college experience we see the main character going through. I think it's a better college experience than this show, personally speaking. And lastly, I would say Umbrella Academy. Like The Boys, it's also based off a comic book. It's about a family of superheroes who get into all sorts of situations involving violence and destruction, all while trying to save the world, that they are the reason that it's ending. Those are my recommendations. This has been my review for the TV show Gen V. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, but most importantly, thank you and have a nice day.